Hi, my name's Mark. I'm one of the pastors here at Trillium. We've been looking at the 1 Corinthians 13 passage on love. It's a very famous passage. You probably heard it read in a church service for a wedding that you maybe gone to. And Paul talks about the characteristics of love and this agape love. And he says this, agape love is patient and kind. It's not envious, boastful, arrogant, or rude. Love does not bully its way forward. It's not irritable or resentful. It doesn't rejoice in wrongdoing, but it rejoices in the truth. Love bears, believes, hopes, endures all things. Love goes to the very end of life. And Paul actually begins the passage today we looked in the church out with this simple phrase, love never ends. And in the Greek, literally it says this, love never, ever, ever, there's an emphatic, love never, never, ever, ever, ever falls. Or love never, ever, ever falls down. And it got me thinking about that. I'm not sure why the translators translated as end. It's not completely clear to me. But I looked up in the dictionary the word fall, this simple four-letter word. I was amazed by the number of entries that were in for the word fall, how many different kind of contexts it can be used in. For instance, love in its basic meanings means to drop from a higher to a lower elevation. But it can also mean to collapse or come down. It can mean to be wounded or slain in battle. He fell in battle. It can mean for a government or some kind of state to be overthrown. You know, Saigon fell, the city falls. This government was overthrown. It fell. We can yield to temptation. Fall can mean to droop or to begin and continue on like the night fell, and we fall asleep. It's just really interesting to me how broad the context of fall is used in our language. And when I looked at the total summary of all the meanings and all the little phrases you can get from it, I was struck by the fact that generally speaking, to fall is not a good thing. When we fall down physically, we risk hurting ourselves. It's embarrassing in some ways often, but it's also a great risk to ourselves physically. I'm skating on the ice in the wintertime just recreationally. I'm very cautious about my place on the ice because I don't want to fall on that hard ice and hurt myself. And as we get older, we find that we're even more and more attentive to the risk of falling. Our balance weakens and the consequences of falling become greater and greater. And in fact, if you begin falling a lot at home, it's likely you're going to have to go live in a nursing home. And if you're driving, you probably can't drive anymore. And if you're working, you have to stop working. Your whole life is revolutionized when you begin to fall. And I noticed that it's not just falling physically. You can fall emotionally. You can fall character-wise. You can fall in habits. I was listening to a program on TSN about athletes and their financial planning. These very famous athletes who, at the end of their careers, when they no longer have money coming in, have done such a poor job planning for their future that they have nothing. And they often have to go bankrupt. I'm thinking about Mike Tyson. You know, Mike Tyson earned $400 million in his career. That's the estimate. And yet today he's got nothing to show for it. I mean, think of the standard of living he had when he was rolling in with the cash. And think of a standard of living today and the difference between the two. And there's the quarterback, Bernie Kosar, heard him talking. I heard Dennis Rodman's story a little bit. I heard about Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling is a great Major League Baseball pitcher, played for the Phillies and the Boston Red Sox. And he probably made over $100 million in his career, and yet today he's got nothing. He's basically broke. His investments have failed, and he's going to have to restructure his family's expectations for what they can expect in the future. And so to fall, generally speaking, is not so good a thing. In fact, the basic Christian story is that we fell. Adam and Eve fell from grace and goodness and glory into a state where joy, peace, and love are intermixed with anguish and pain and dis-ease. And that's the struggle we face with today, is that we're living in this world of partiality. We have one foot in the world of love and joy and peace, and we have another foot in the world of pain and anguish and dis-ease. And we don't seem to be able to get out of that other world and launch ourselves totally into the world of love. And in fact, the big underlying trouble that we face is that I think many of us have lost confidence in love's ability to deliver. We lose confidence in love. Even when we're in good relationships and we have good marriages and good, nice relationships with our children, somewhere deep inside ourselves, we've lost our total confidence in love. And when Paul says love never falls, I think some of us might dispute that pretty powerfully. Love falls all the time. It fails to come up to our hopes or dreams for it. We don't seem to be able to trust love. And Paul says, this partial world that we're living in, this partiality where one foot's in one camp and one foot's in the other, that world is going to come to an end. And the complete will finally come to us. And we will have love restored to us in its totality. And we'll gain the confidence to trust love with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And when that happens, we'll be restored back to a consciousness that is aware of all things, including our Creator. We've fallen asleep this day because we've lost confidence in love. It's put us to sleep. We are to awaken that Christ light, the divine source within us, so that we can come back into a true relationship, a right relationship with God and with our neighbor. And that happens when love comes to us in its total way. And I pray for you that you may begin to start putting back together your total confidence in love, love's ability to go right to the end in life, to overcome any set of circumstances, no matter how difficult they are. Love truly can deliver everything that we need this day. God's blessing and love be upon you. Let that flow of energy and power move through your life. Allow it to find its fulfillment in everything you do. And when that happens, you will find that deep awakening, that consciousness of God and your neighbor in your life this day. I pray this for you. Go in peace. Go especially in love.